Hi everyone, Martijn Mulder here for OnTheTracks.007.com with 7 minutes of Bond locations. On this episode I will bring you to a rather special location, the Royal Air Force Base of Northolt, just west of London. Especially in the early years, Eon Productions often filmed small exterior scenes within a 10-15 kilometer circle around Pinewood. Shrublands in Thunderball, the car chase in Goldfinger, M's house in Majesties are just a few examples. Since it's much easier to film in a controlled, fenced-off environment, they often used Royal Air Force bases or former RAF airfields whenever possible. Bovingdon Airfield in Golden Gun, RAF Halton in The World Is Not Enough, RAF Upper Hayford in Octopussy, and the list goes on and on. But the RAF base they most frequently used is RAF Northolt. Only 8 kilometers from Pinewood Studios, RAF Northolt proved to be the ideal location for a variety of scenes in a number of Bond films. Located in Ruislip, just above the A40 motorway, the base actually predates the establishment of the Royal Air Force by 3 years, making it the oldest RAF base. It opened in 1915 and, as was usual in those days, it was named after the nearest railway station, in this case Northolt Junction. After the war, the airfield was used by civil aviation during the construction of nearby Heathrow Airport. During this period, Northolt became a major base for British European Airways. During 1952, a total of 50,000 air movements were recorded, making the airfield the busiest in Europe. Civil flights eventually ceased when the central area at Heathrow opened in 1954, with Northolt reverting to sole military use. A bizarre accident makes a great anecdote. In December 1946, a Douglas Dakota III plane took off from Northolt on a routine flight to Glasgow. Because of the ice on the wings, the plane couldn't get enough altitude, causing the plane to crash into a house in South Ruislip. The bizarre thing is that no one got hurt. The aircraft crashed into the roof without even waking the 4-year-old child who was asleep in his cot upstairs. The crew and passengers all climbed through the house's loft, down the stairs, and they left the house through the front door. You simply don't make this up. By the way, the house on 44 Angus Drive survived. Over the years, RAF Northolt has appeared in Bond films doubling for Azerbaijan, Kentucky, South America, so it was on my bucket list from day one. And every time I was in the area I tried to get in, without success. I never got further than a shot of the gatehouse that was in Thunderball. And it's a good thing that I took that photo back then, because that gatehouse was demolished several years ago. Today, the entrance looked totally different from the days that Major Derval entered the site. Finally, I got the advice to write a letter to the Ministry of Defense and ask permission, official permission for a visit. It must have been around 9/11, so it wasn't exactly a very good time to ask permission to photograph an Air Force base. But still, I wrote the letter, and to my surprise, I received a reply.
Request granted.
So a couple of months later I went there and met with the squadron leader at the time, Mr. Livingston. He took me in his car and it took me all over the base. And the first thing we saw was Hangar 5. This is one of 2 hangars that feature in Goldfinger. Hangar 5 doubled for the hangar from which 007 takes a plane to meet the President. From the inside there's a shot of the tied up pilots. The next stop was what is called Crash Gate number 1. It's a remote road leading to a gate or fence that emergency services can apparently crash through if there's a need for it. In this area, a small scene was shot for The World Is Not Enough, in which Bond poses as Elektra's security man Davidov. The third location is surely the best. This is Hangar 311, which is not only in Goldfinger but also in Octopussy. It's the largest hangar on the base, and it served as a Kentucky airfield hangar in the scene where Bond is brought to Goldfinger by Pussy. Outside, Pussy welcomes her pilots after they landed. While taking photos there, I was enthusiastically panning around when I suddenly heard Mr. Livingston say, "Stop," next to me. As I was apparently about to photograph something that was not supposed to be photographed. You will probably all recognize the hangar from Octopussy's pre-title sequence as well. Eon Productions had made a deal with Northolt to refurbish and repaint the hangar after filming had ended here. This deal obviously did not include blowing the place up, so for that the filmmakers had to be resourceful. When you see the Acrostar jet fly in and out of the hangar, it's actually a model on a wire, moving in between the vacuum of a foreground miniature and the real hangar, as you can clearly see here. And what you see blown up in the film is a miniature. The plane that you can see fly through the hangar was the real deal, but mounted on a Jaguar that was driven by a special effects supervisor, John Richardson. It was a very clever edit. So there's lots to see at RAF Northolt. The only challenge for you is to get access. So that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. What the? For more info on this and other Bond destinations, check out onthetrucksof007.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.